does a leader look like? In our modern imagination, the picture is often clear. A king on a throne, a CEO in a boardroom, a general on a battlefield, commanding respect through strength, strategy, and sheer force of will. We build our monuments to men of power and write our histories around their conquests. We are taught that leadership is a matter of position, of authority bestowed by human systems. But what if the most decisive leader in a nation's darkest hour wasn't a king or a general? What if she was a poet, a prophet, and a judge, a woman whose authority came not from a throne, but from a tree in the wilderness? The Bible is not a sanitized gallery of heroes. It is a raw, often brutal, and deeply human chronicle of faith and failure. And the story we are about to explore, from one of its darkest chapters, is a masterclass in courage, a thunderous lesson on the nature of leadership, and a startling revelation that God's chosen instruments are rarely the ones we would expect. This is the story of Deborah, the woman who was called to lead a broken nation to an impossible victory. A story rooted not in human might, but in divine deliverance. This is the day God used a prophetess to shame an empire and save a people. Our story is set in the grim and chaotic era of the Judges. The generation that knew Moses and Joshua is long gone. The fledgling nation of Israel, once united by a divine mission, has splintered into a loose confederation of tribes, mired in a downward spiral of chaos and compromise. The book of Judges repeats a grim, predictable rhythm. The people forget God and turn to idols. God allows them to be oppressed by their enemies. The people cry out in their suffering, and God raises up a judge, a deliverer, to save them. It is a cycle of sin, suffering, and supplication. And at this moment, the suffering is immense. For 20 years, the Israelites have been brutally crushed under the heel of Jabin, a Canaanite king. But the true terror of this regime is his commander, a man named Sisera. Sisera is not just a warlord, he is the master of a terrifying new military technology, 900 iron chariots. In the ancient world, this was the equivalent of an armored tank division facing off against infantry. The chariots were fast, they were deadly, and they gave Sisera absolute control over the plains and valleys. The Israelites, relegated to the hill country, are trapped, impoverished, and spiritually deadened. They are a people without hope. And in this vacuum of leadership, in a profoundly patriarchal world, God does something radical. He raises up a woman. Her name is Deborah. She is not a queen or a warrior. The Bible introduces her first as a prophetess, a woman who hears the voice of God. Her authority is so respected that we are told the Israelites came to her to have their disputes decided. Her court is not in a palace, but under a palm tree between Ramah and Bethel. She is the moral and spiritual anchor of a nation adrift. But God has a purpose for her, beyond settling disputes. He gives her a message, a divine command that will spark a revolution. She summons the man who should be leading the charge, a military leader from the tribe of Naphtali named Barak. And Deborah speaks not her own words, but God's. The Lord, the God of Israel, commands you, "Go, take with you 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun, and lead them to Mount Tabor. I will lead Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his troops to the Kishon River, and give him into your hands." This is the moment of truth, a direct command from God, a promise of victory against an invincible foe. But Barak, faced with the terrifying reality of 900 iron chariots, hesitates. His faith falters. He looks at this prophetess, the vessel of God's word, and gives her an ultimatum born of fear. "If you go with me, I will go, but if you don't go with me, I won't go." He needs a human security blanket. He cannot face the enemy with only a divine promise. Deborah's response is a portrait of quiet strength and prophetic clarity. She does not chide him or shame him. She simply agrees and then delivers a stunning prophecy that will define the entire story. "Very well," she says. "I will go with you, but because of the course you are taking, the honor will not be yours, for the Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman." The stage is set. The battle is coming, but the glory will be redirected. The victory will belong not to the man with the sword, but to God, and he will use the hands of the unexpected to achieve it. So Deborah arises and goes with Barak to Kadesh. 10,000 Israelite men, armed with little more than courage and a promise, gather at Mount Tabor. When Sisera hears that the Israelite rebels have dared to come down from the hills, he mobilizes his entire force, all 900 iron chariots and his whole army, and converges on them at the Kishon River. From a human perspective, this is a slaughter waiting to happen. An army of foot soldiers on open ground against an armored cavalry. It is a suicide mission. Then Deborah speaks the words that unleash the battle. "Go. This is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. Has not the Lord gone ahead of you?" And at her word, Barak and his 10,000 men charge down the mountain. What happens next is a cosmic ambush. The God who controls the storm and the sea intervenes. The Bible tells us that the Lord routed Sisera and all his chariots. The Song of Deborah, a victory poem later in the text, gives us the vivid details. From the heavens, the stars fought. From their courses, they fought against Sisera. The river Kishon swept them away. A torrential downpour, a divine flash flood, turns the valley floor into a quagmire of thick mud. The iron chariots, Sisera's ultimate weapon, become his prison. Their wheels get stuck. The feared war machines are rendered useless, and the mighty Canaanite army is thrown into a panic. The Israelites decimate them. In the chaos, the great commander Sisera abandons his chariot and flees on foot, a symbol of his total and humiliating defeat. He runs, desperate, to what he thinks is a safe haven, the tent of Heber the Kenite, a clan that was at peace with his king. He stumbles into the tent and is met by Heber's wife, a woman named Jael. Exhausted and terrified, he begs for water. Jael gives him milk, a richer, more comforting drink, and covers him with a blanket. He is lulled into a false sense of security. "Stand in the doorway of the tent," he commands her. "If someone comes and asks, 'Is anyone here?' say no." Then the mighty warrior falls into a deep sleep. This is the story's breathtaking and brutal climax. The prophecy is about to be fulfilled in a way no one could have imagined. Jael, seeing the enemy of God and of her people helpless before her, does not hesitate. She takes a tent peg, a common tool for a woman living in a nomadic culture, and a hammer. Quietly, she approaches the sleeping commander, and with chilling resolve, she drives the tent peg through his temple and into the ground. When Barak arrives in pursuit, Jael meets him at the door. "Come," she says, "I will show you the man you're looking for." And there he is, Sisera, the terror of Israel, lying dead, not with a sword in his chest on the battlefield, but with a tent peg in his head, slain by the hand of a woman in her own tent. The prophecy is complete. The honor was not Barak's. The Lord had delivered Sisera into the hands of a woman. So what is the legacy of this savage and triumphant story? It is a profound statement about where true power comes from. In a world, then and now, that looks for leaders in palaces and on battlefields, God chose a prophetess under a palm tree. When the designated male leader faltered in fear, God's plan was not thwarted. He simply used another woman, an ordinary nomad named Jael, to finish the job. The story of Deborah shatters our preconceived notions of strength, gender, and leadership. It teaches us that God is not limited by our cultural expectations or our human hierarchies. He seeks out the faithful, the obedient, and the courageous, regardless of their station or their gender. Deborah's authority came from her attunement to God's voice. Jael's victory came from her decisive action in a critical moment. They are a testament to a God who delights in using the unlikely and the overlooked to accomplish his extraordinary purposes. The story asks us, What does a leader look like? And it answers, sometimes a leader looks like a woman sitting under a tree, listening to the voice of God and daring to believe that He will do exactly what He says. If this story and its message moved you, and you want to explore more of these incredible and deeply human accounts of faith, we would be so grateful if you would like this video and subscribe to our channel. Please hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next chapter in these timeless histories. Thank you for watching.